Welcome to the fantasy draft room. I am Chase. With me, as always, my man Cody. We are in the midst of an underdog best ball draft here, doing a little board for us, and we are drafting out of the 7 hole. As you can see, we've already kicked things off. All right, man. What are your thoughts here? How do you kind of handle these first rounds so far? How many?
I mean, I'm really loving this 107 spot in the first round. If we go back up to the top of the board here, we do have the CMC, Lamb, Jefferson, Tyreek Hill already off the board, but that allows us to go here with a Jamar Chase, Brees Hall, or Amon-Ra St. Brown guaranteed in the top 6 picks or top 7 picks, leaving us one of those ones that I really like. I think that 7 is a cutoff, and that leaves us here with who I'm taking, Amon-Ra St. Brown. I don't think there's too much of conversation about it. Could you take the Bijan? Could you take Puka? Sure, you could. But I think these guys, these top 7, are a truly defined tier at this point in the offseason. So it will be Amon-Ra St. Brown off the board here. Now, it does present a little bit of a conundrum coming back on the 2-6. While I like the first round, it leaves us in a little bit of an interesting spot depending upon how these next 12 or so picks play out, because I really think that the next tier is AJ Brown, Jonathan Taylor, and then you have to reach on a Nico Collins or DJ Moore if it doesn't play out right.
And that's exactly it. I mean, I do like the middle of the draft. It seems, or at least this is my first one as well, I should say. But I typically like that middle of the draft because of that first tier. It is just an interesting situation on the back half here. Like you see, it's Devon Achan, Marvin Harrison. Like you're all taking gambles, even if you reach down the board a little bit further, according to ADP. You really do, hope an AJ Brown, Jonathan Taylor is there. But yeah, not really sure exactly where we're going to go here. How many picks we got left? If you just
Yeah, I
had
mean,
Bijan off the board.
we'll be getting to the 18th is where we make our pick, and we're currently on the 10th, and we want one of 4 guys to go all the way to 18. Probably doesn't happen. So let's look down the board a little bit. Unless one of these 4 guys, Gibbs, Kyron, AJ Brown, Jonathan Taylor, falls to us, we will have to make a selection out of the ones currently shown on this board. Any of these guys stand out to, I think the big one that everybody has questions about is going to be Marvin Harrison Jr. I'm not one to take the risks on the rookies this early, especially unknown with where they're going to go, unknown with what system they're going to go into. Obviously, Marv is a locked and loaded prospect, but I'm not sure about a locked and loaded redraft prospect. Like we saw with Bijan Robinson being a first round pick last year, it didn't work out really well for a lot of people compared to expectations.
Yeah, in general, when it comes to underdog drafts, especially this early when we don't even know landing spots for them, I personally typically avoid it just because when it comes to these underdog drafts, like you're talking about, like, I mean, they're an investment, right? They're not free. So it's like, you don't want to potentially waste money on a draft that, let's say Marvin Harrison goes to an awful situation. Maybe he is in Chicago. Maybe things aren't that great. So it just depends on really what your thoughts are on like the potential landing spots. I just can't take that risk. I typically go for something a little more proven, at least at this point in the game.
So then I think we go into the conversation. I've got my 2 here. I think that I've done one out of this draft spot before. Obviously, Jonathan Taylor is going to be my 1 here. I do think I'd probably lean Devon Achane, and we got both of those guys on the board here. The only issue, or the only one that could potentially be there is, the Rashee Rice. Do we lean into the early quarterback of Josh Allen? I'm not doing that with so much quarterback value down the board that we'll see even in like round 17. I think there's probably a starting quarterback or 2. So I don't love reaching on the quarterback this early with where the ADP is. Any of the wide receivers give you any pause here that you would do anything else in Marv, Rice, Debo, or Ayuk?
No, not really. Just thinking about them, you got them both. This is interesting here. So, do you take the home run ability in best ball with Achan, or do you take kind of the more volume known asset with JT?
I'm going to lean into the known one with JT. I don't think, and you're going to have questions about Mostert with A-Chain, but he's never going to be a true workhorse running back. He's going to be built on volatility, and he's going to be built on keeping the same level of efficiency that he kept up in his rookie year, which I just don't think is all that sustainable. Even though I do love my Texas A&M rookie Devon Achan, I don't think that type of like 8.5 yards per carry and averaging 100-yard plus games on 9 touches, whatever it was. Like, I don't think that portion of it's sustainable. We know what we've got with JT. Obviously, he dealt with some injury, but whenever he was there and healthy, he was the guy, even as Zach Moss was there and still really being efficient on his own. He was still put into a complementary back role. They paid Jonathan Taylor. He's going to be their guy going forward. And if you bring back an Anthony Richardson along with him, I think that running game in Indianapolis is going to be very good in 2024.
Yep, completely agree with you there. So now that puts us looking at our next pick. We now have a running back and a wide receiver here in the first couple rounds, and this is really where like the strategy and kind of thought process into the best ball form kind of happens, where you kind of got to go wide receiver here, like with how drafts are and really where wide receiver burns out later in this draft. You kind of have to take your shots early. Who are you highlighting here? Looks like we got some Olave, Adams, Pittman.
Yeah, it's everybody you can see on the board is the 5 that I currently have on right now. Adams, Olave, Pittman, and Mike Evans are my 5 right now that I currently do have highlighted. You're going to see me skipping on Tank Dell, skipping on DK Metcalf. I'd honestly still rather have DK Metcalf right here. I think there's a very good chance that Tank Dell ends up being the 3 on the Houston Texans. Now, obviously, it was a high-powered offense with CJ Stroud. Love my Texans going forward as well, but if they bring in somebody, even if it's not just somebody who overtakes Tank Dell as the number 2, you're putting a lot more stress on Tank Dell to keep up that level of burst that he did have in those explosion games. And the Texans wide receiver core was never together and healthy at almost any point throughout all of 2023. I think Nico Collins is by far and away the one on this offense. We'll see what happens if they bring in a better wide receiver to pair alongside of this grouping. But if you're asking 3 legitimate wide receivers to all be top 15 in a year, I don't think that hardly any offense can sustain that. And they're probably bound for at least a little bit of regression going into 2024.
So we are up in just a couple picks here. We have Pittman. I think if we had to take ETN here, I would be absolutely devastated. But really, it's Pittman, DK, Evans. Do you feel anything about DK at all? What are your thoughts on him?
Yeah, I like DK, but kind of just like what we were talking about, in a less efficient offense, they've got JSN. I still think Tyler Lockett could very easily come back, or that they do something else in either free agency or the draft. The only reason I'm not going to go Michael Pittman here, though, is if we look at our board and we look at that second round pick that we made, it was Jonathan Taylor. I don't really want to lean into both the running game and the wide receiving game, or the wide receiver in that same offense. So I'm going to go with a repeat of Mike Evans, either repeating with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers or going to a different offense. Like everybody's going to try to say Mike Evans to the Chiefs, Mike Evans to one of these really high powered teams. I don't know if it happens, but even if he goes back to the Bucs, I'm pretty happy with that.
Yeah, I don't think Evans is going to put himself in a worse situation. I could see him being in the exact same situation with him and Baker again, and it worked out really well. He's a Hall of Famer, and he's I don't want to jinx it, but knock on wood, he's going to be a walking 1,000 yards and 8 touchdowns. Like that's just what he
Every
does
year, 10
every
years in
year.
a row, baby. 10 years in a
So
row.
I'm definitely down for the sure thing. It's not necessarily a super huge ceiling play, but he does have pop weeks, right? And we already have Amon-Ra too. So I feel really good about the first couple wide receivers and having a nice little, hopefully, hero running back if JT can regain form here in 2024 with that Indianapolis offense.
Yeah, and you said it. I mean, we really do need Jonathan Taylor to probably be an anchor running back. If you're taking running back that high, I want them to be a true anchor, and I'm probably not taking running back again for probably 4 or 5 rounds here. So let's look back probably at this wide receiver room. I'm going to give a peek just to the audience just to see what we got if we were to go quarterback. Obviously, top of the market still, Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, CJ Stroud, Anthony Richardson. If we did want to give a stack, but I'm not really going to go into a double running back or double, not calling Anthony Richardson a running back, but double running stack in the same offense. So I'll probably go away from there. Tight end, Kelsey McBride Andrews. I still love tight end. It's so flat, honestly, with Kelsey not being really the difference maker anymore. In my opinion, I don't think anybody else is separated. Even the Laporte, I don't think really separated himself. If you look back, he produced more of a season along the George Kittle, Dallas Goedert years of past. He really didn't separate himself, even just in terms of points per game. So we got one pick up here. I'm really looking back to go into wide receiver. Anybody stand out to you on first glance?
So this is actually a really big range because of the potential offensive shift in Atlanta that I've actually targeted Drake London a lot here.
And
Unfortunately, he just
up.
went off the board. So now we're looking at T. Higgins, Amari Cooper. I think those are the only 2 that really stand out. I do think Cooper is the one in that offense. T. Higgins, worst case scenario, he's our wide receiver 3. He has massive boom potential. And then if he does go into a different situation other than Cincinnati, he's probably the one in that offense. So I'm probably leaning T. Higgins or or Cooper at this point.
I'm gonna lean back into Coop.
Yep,
I
perfect.
don't think they do anything more with the wide receiver room than it already is. You're now expecting, the resurgence of like year 4 away from Deshaun Watson to get back to really true form,
Yeah, that's
which is a little bit concerning, right? That he really did have his best time whenever Joe Flacco was in this offense, but still think there's a possibility that Deshaun reclaims a little bit of that. And even if not, he's still the one there, still by far and away the best receiver there. I'm not really sure about the opportunity for T. Higgins, especially if he's back in Cincinnati. I don't think he has the same upside. Really, if I was to go anywhere else, the Zay Flowers, Jaden Reed, Jordan Addison all feel like safe floors, but I don't really expect that boom upside for any of them. I might have honestly just leaned into the upside of potentially a Roma Dunze going to a team and being their one from the jump. But again, I don't really like leaning into that much rookie
yeah,
risk. But it would be a little bit different. It would be a little bit different from the norm of what I would normally do, just to build out a little bit different. But if you're going to tell me
yeah.
that I do have a start of JT, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Mike Evans, and Amari Cooper, I mean, those guys have been studs for a pretty long time. Probably not the riskiest of builds here, but I do really like it, especially as we lean a little bit more safe and traditional at this point of the offseason.
Yeah, exactly. So I do like the Cooper pick. He was definitely one of mine. I do think T. Higgins is still going to be a decent have a decent opportunity, even in Cincinnati. And then when you're talking about home run ability, that's kind of what I was looking at too. Just the ability to smash. I know he is not the number one on his own offense, which does, or at least if he does go back to Cincinnati, but we've seen him perform well. Jamar Chase hasn't stayed exactly healthy every single season, so whenever he does go down, T. Higgins eats. I just think that they'll find a way to get him involved. All right, so coming up here, next few picks. What are we up in 6? So we're halfway around the board. So pick 55 is our next one. I mean, Rome may be there. Rome may be there to take. I mean, and having him as a 4 wouldn't be awful, because if he does hit that ceiling play that you were just talking about, he would be a great option. And if he doesn't, we're not really missing out on anything yet. So it is truly an upside play there. Who else are you looking at this point?
There's a couple others. Once you start looking back at, once we got the 3 wide receivers now that I really like, I could take a glance back at running back with Ken Walker, Josh Jacobs, Alvin Kamara. Honestly, though, if you're going to give me Patrick Mahomes at 10 over ADP, that almost feels a little bit too good to pass up. I don't know about it yet, but that one's a little standing out to me, honestly, to be here in round 5 for Patrick Mahomes.
So here's what I want to bring up to you while that happens, because quarterback is on my mind. I mean, you already talked about Amon-Ra, Evans, and Cooper, our top 3 wide receivers. Like late round QB would be Goff. Deshaun Watson's way lower than most people anticipate. That's an awesome target. We could actually stack literally all 3 of our wide receivers if we wanted to do late round QB. It would be a gamble. We'd have to take our shots now and kind of hit on different pieces in this part of the draft. But that was one of the things I wanted to bring up. If you are interested at all.
And because Patrick Mahomes went off the board, that was the only one that was going to drive me away from that strategy, because it's the strategy that I love so early in these drafts right now is the late round QB strategy. Because if you just stack 3 of those guys, like we said, I mean, if we look down at their ADPs after we get to this pick, they are so far down the board. They're like QB 20 plus all of these guys that we're potentially targeting. So I agree with you that we won't go there. Now that Roma Dunze pick, that high upside variance swing pick, is back on the board. Would you think about that or go into the Josh Jacobs, Alvin Kamara, Derrick Henry role? I think that's the other way we could go if we want to go running back.
I mean, I'd say take Rome. My only other one that I would even look at is someone that hopefully falls to us, but it's actually George Pickens. Because it sounds crazy, but just because of the home run ability, wide receiver 4, like he's going to be have those smash weeks. He's also going to be a dud some, but when we're talking again high upside plays in best ball, that is a high upside play. And I do think that things are only going to get better for him in that offense. I haven't been, wasn't in on him early. I knew the talent was there, but I do want to see if he has a potential to break out as a true number 1, or if he's just going to continuously be that like boom bust performance. And it's not going to be worse than that, at least.
No, definitely not going to be worse than that. I mean, I think Deontay has probably his last year there. So maybe if you're trying to play the long-term dynasty game and you don't think Deontay is going to get re-signed, you think this offense can turn around with Arthur Smith, even though there's probably 2 out of 100 people in all of fantasy football that actually agree with that. I might actually be one of them. So there's one other person other than me that believes that narrative. But I'm interested to see what you think about this mid round tight end range, because that's where I'm really looking forward to. If we don't get the locked and loaded quarterback that we've already said we're really punting probably at this point, do you think that tight end is a range to sit here as we're about 5 picks off the board? I do think you have a mute on you.
That is helpful. There is a couple of tight ends that usually in this range that I've seen here, and one of them was Kittle. Unfortunately, he is no longer on the board, but I I don't know, man. Like they're all the same. It'd be nice to have an Evan Ingram or an Njoku that could smash. And now also looking at the Watson opportunity, if we believe in the pass game of Cleveland, maybe
Correct.
you go Njoku and just take the shot that like again best ball. At least he's a boom performer for us. What other wide receivers are on the board?
You do have that Pickens coming all the way back around to us. And I would actually, if we're going to go with that Njoku, which I do think is what we target here, I'd rather do that on the other side of this turn and just punt it
Perfect.
one more time, punt the running back one more round as well. Probably two more rounds if we do end up going with that. Now, this is where this vet running back room does really start to
Yeah.
go here in this sixth, seventh round. But I do think we just fully punt this wide receiver room, really bet on this Jonathan Taylor one, get George Pickens here, build out 5 wide receivers, and we don't take another one for a good bit.
Yeah, I'm with you as well. Like you just have those home run performers, and we can always take one or two later. Again, get a 6, maybe 7 tops. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm looking to. Just it just feels kind of right in there. Is there any backup plan you have?
At which position here, as we're going with either the tight end or the running backs here?
Yeah, like at what point do you, I guess, running back wise, like I would love to get one in this range here because like it does fall off a cliff. Um,
It
but
does start to. I love this range though, as we're going through just
yes,
both of them here. I mean, you're looking at it. It's the Austin Eckler, Tony Pollard, Joe Mixon, James Conner. We already saw the ones come off the board as we were looking through earlier.
Monty
The
Henry. Yep.
Monty Henry Chubb. This is the range that I really love to attack. Get those 4 or 5 wide receivers in your first probably 7 rounds, and then backfill with the running back right now.
Yeah, I feel like it falls off. Like again, we're assuming what Mostert could be again this year, but like when you have James Conner, Najee Harris is pretty much that cut. We should have one or two of these guys available. Do you try and double tap here if two of these guys in this range are available and just kind of have a thicker running back room?
It's probably where I do, if we want to go with that Njoku stack, then I'd
That's fair.
probably lean into that Njoku. But if Njoku's gone, then I probably lean back to going another running back, and then we basically full punt both quarterback and tight end at that point.
Yep. Okay. Let's see here. So we got 6 picks now, and this is usually when the draft does slow down. People are a little bit quicker trigger early on, so people are going to take their time, or we're going to have people autoing, and that's just part of the game. So,
Yep.
um,
Setting up those cues and just leaving it to roll once you make your first 7 selections. But it's underdog best ball drafts. And what you really need to sometimes win those are your, like, I don't want to say the Puka Nakuas of last year, but you do need some of
yeah,
those absolute just dart throws that end up hitting for you. I mean, Nico Collins was probably absolutely buried down the depth charts of last year. Then he goes and produces top 12 wide receiver season. I don't think that you can really ever walk away from these drafts and ever feel comfortable about it. Now, can you be 100% wrong with like the last 6 of your picks? By all means, yes, you can. You can
absolutely.
get 0 points out of all of them, especially this early in the season. But I think if you're maximizing your value, it's probably not the best way to go. I think you do have to sit here and go through the process of drafting all 20 of these rounds out that we're going to draft for y'all tonight.
Yeah, agreed. I think that's how you win these things. I think that's how you're successful. Sure, you can luck into them later, and again, there is a lot of luck involved at this point because you're assuming a lot about these situations. But at the same time, if you take the time, really think about these, things. Dynasty plays a lot into this. We talk about dynasty all the time for those that are listening to us. They probably know us from that. So doing underdog, you kind of think about those player situations, the offenses, the offensive coordinators that these guys are tied to, and it does help your odds of actually hitting on some of these later round darts. Like again, you're just looking at potential opportunity and can something happen for us?
So we are back up on the clock here. One more pick left to go. We're looking at the running backs here. I'm going to try to play the game with David Njoku, get him on the next turn. We'll see if that happens.
Pick
But
88.
I'm going to
Yeah.
go with the running back here: Eckler, Pollard, Connor, or Najee Harris. Do you have a lean either way?
Connor, Pollard, and Eckler, I think would probably in that order. I still believe in James Conner, but the potential for what Tony Pollard could do for an offense if they use him correctly, same thing with Eckler, is just
And
hard.
that's where I'm going. I mean, this guy was actually still a top, I think, like 16 running back on the year last year. And it feels like we are just burying him. I was in a startup dynasty mock a little bit earlier today, and he was going behind the likes of Aaron Jones and Derrick Henry's and James Conner himself. Like, he was buried into like the 12th round of a dynasty startup. And I'm just like, man, like he's still only 26, barely off of that rookie contract and an extension of the franchise tag. I think we buried him a little bit too much just because of what we were expecting from him, which was like a top 3 performance expected. And then he fell back to like that 15, 16, 17, 18 running back. I think we're punishing him a little bit too hard for basically defying our expectations that he was set for.
I think we've had a lot of running backs in bad situations or, tied to bad offenses lately. And this free agent class has the opportunity to change where, like, they're choose their own destination, right? You have Saquon, Pollard, Eckler, Henry, all free agents. Like, and again, they're still talented players. Some of them are getting up there in age, but Tony Pollard's still young. He still can go to a situation that benefits him, that's going to use him correctly. Again, he might just bag Chase and end up in another shitty, in a situation where they're not using him the way he should be. But hopefully he finds himself a coordinator that wants to use him properly. So I like that pick there. I do think the home run ability is definitely there, especially at the running back spot. So you're looking at Njoku probably for the next pick, right? If he's
Yeah,
still
we
there at
we
90.
definitely got to be there. Do I have a backup plan if both Ingram and Njoku are gone? Not really, but we only have 3 picks in between us, and we just had Sutton come off the board. Ingram does come off the board. One more pick to see if we live for glory and can get this Brown stack going in to 2024 for all of the glamour here. Robotussle, Rob Trussell. There we go. That's probably, I was going Robitussin there for a bit for all those
Oh my
people who've
god.
indulged in that before. Definitely not me. Jake Ferguson, way out of the order
Ooh.
for that one. So we do save, even though he goes with tight end, not the one that we wanted. We do get the David Njoku to potentially stack with both Amari Cooper and a potential Deshaun Watson here later on down the line. Let's go down and see where he is currently picked at 150 in the ADP, and another probably 10 quarterbacks still before he goes off the board. So he's in the queue, he's in the hopper, but let's get into all the other ones as well. We have a little bit sitting here. So we do have the Jared Goff that we can throw in the hopper as well. And then all the way down the board, Baker Mayfield too.
Yeah, so looking at, and I just added those. I'm creating my own queue over here on a separate screen, easier for me to view. Yeah, when I was looking at that, you kind of have to double tap Watson and Baker later. Like, we do have heavy QB probably coming if we want to stack all of them. It would be nice to get Goff. So Goff's ADPs at 112. Use it as a reference point. So probably the next 2 picks, we'd have to take him if we wanted him. So right now, do you want to add any other wide receivers? Like, what are we looking at here? Do you want to reach for a quarterback? Because we now have a tight end. I feel like we have 2 decent running backs. The cliff is coming though for running back too.
That's where I'm probably leaning if we can get one of these running backs. Let me pull that board up independently here. If I can, there we go. We do have the couple of ones, Brian Robinson, DeAndre Swift, that I was probably really looking at. Jalen Warren, I'd like, just in case Najee were to go
Yep.
down, and he could be one of the few that really assumes that workhorse role. I think I go there, but I don't like stacking it with the George Pickens, but he's the boom bust play here. It is a little bit of a bet that we lean into that Arthur Smith offense that I was talking about that I like a little bit more than most people, but it's the quarterback situation there that I really don't like. I don't really care about the offensive coordinator role of Arthur Smith being the problem. It's just the quarterback that we really don't have the answer on. But I will probably I will not lean into Jalen Warren anymore as he's off the board. So that leaves us, honestly, I might go into Motor. I might go lean into Motor for one more year, see if he gets re-signed with the Houston Texans, and lean into a
Honestly,
Devin Singletary.
At this point, like that to me, that's the tier's gone. Like I don't even care. You can give me Chase Brown, Singletary, Ty Chandler, Roshan, like any of these. I just don't care about them. It's up to you if you want to go running back. Is there any other wide receiver like Deontay on the? I mean, again, double down there. Is there any other
I
name
mean,
that even
Troy
stands out?
Franklin, if I really wanted to dip back into the rookie
Yeah,
pool, Tyler Lockett, then Rashid Shaheed. So I
that's
don't really
down
see
there.
anything that's coming off the
Same.
board for me. I'm just going to lean into the hope and prayer that Devin Singletary gets back to Houston. I know they do really like him, at least in media, and I know the team really likes him as well. Motors, they call him down here. Uh, got a lot of fanfare over the past year with what he was able to do after Damian Pierce really didn't evolve into that zone scheme system. So I think there's a good chance that either, I mean, obviously with the free agent class, with as much money as they have to spend as well, they could really do something else. But hey, I mean, you already see the guy who succeeded very well in your offense. I think there's a good chance that Singletary could find his way back to H Town for 2024. Let's get back into that quarterback market. I do think we probably have to lean there, though, if we want to. Now that we do have a 3-5-1 build with the 0 at the quarterback slot, I think this is probably where we take our first one off the board. Let's look at just the quarterbacks here. We've still got T-Law, Caleb Williams, if we want to go into the rookie QB route.
Yeah.
Doesn't seem like too bad of an option either, just to see if we could hit on that upside. I mean, honestly, you could get both Caleb and Rome with the Chicago Bears and just see if you could hit that stack if you really want to bet on the NFL draft at this point. Not exactly where I would like to go, but I could see the upside there.
I haven't taken any rookie QBs yet. At least in any of the builds I've had. Just I've wanted to. I like to build some security first, and I felt like I was going after some of those more proven assets. But I do want to take that home run shot on the Caleb's, on the Jaden Daniels. So I don't mind it if you wanted to. I mean, we still again have Watson and Baker. We don't need to stack all three of our aces. You know, yes, a Goff and Amon-Ra stack would be nice, but still having the full Brown stack on the table as well as a Mike Evans and Baker stack, which proved fruitful this year as well. So I wouldn't mind having two. I will leave the QB thought up to you if he's still on the board. Otherwise, yeah, kind of
They
running back,
left it.
just try
They
it up.
they left all of it. They
Okay.
did leave all of it. So we could lean back into that running back that you were talking about last time with what you were picking, but
Yeah, I say take your shot on QB. Just take whatever, either Goff, Caleb, whatever you want to do there. It just seems like that's going to be the best route for the actual build of the team.
I think so. And I'm going to lean into the little bit more secure one of
Cool.
Jared Goff here.
Love it.
Get the stack. If the offense blows up, obviously they could get another weapon. Hell, I mean, Mike Evans could go to Detroit and we get all three of them there. That'd be pretty insane. Don't think they've
Yep.
got I don't know if they have the cap space, honestly, going into next year to really do anything like that. That'd be cool. That'd be an awesome offense, honestly. If they had Laporta, Mike Evans, and Amon-Ra St. Brown along with Jared Goff, that'd be awesome. But
Gibbs and
don't
Monty in the backfield.
Gibbs and
That's a
Monty.
Super Bowl team.
Damn. Damn. If they could just draft some defense as well to back that thing up, man, that'd be fun. I
That's
know
a
I was
Super Bowl
calling for
team.
Mike Evans at the trade deadline, but the Bucks were actually good enough to still be in contention and actually make the playoffs, so that didn't happen this year. I still hope that Mike Evans keeps up that jersey back there. Where there. Nope. Uh, But I honestly hope for him that he can just have I would love for him to win another Super Bowl, but hope that he can kind of stay above for the rest of his career. But that's besides the point for underdog drafts. Let's get back into where we're looking for going forward. Honestly, if Caleb or Jaden Daniels is here for another quarterback and I could take that upside swing after I've already paired one of them, I wouldn't mind that. Going down the quarterback board still, we've still got another 5-6 quarterbacks until Deshaun Watson's up there. If we do want to lean back into that stack of Amari Cooper and David Njoku, any concern, any thought even about going back to the tight end here? I'd still really like Dalton Schultz at this price, but that's probably the end of the high up tier for me.
Honestly, like wide receiver, I feel like a wide receiver dies out unless there's some darts you wanted to take later. But like, really, I feel like we need to get how many wide receivers do you want to have here? I feel like this is one of those builds where we have enough. We have a 1-3-5-1. Like maybe we
Correct.
go 7 tops
I'd
because you
be
have to
I'd be
start
probably
3.
at 7. Yeah,
Okay.
7 would probably be my preferred number, 7 or 8.
Because if we're, I mean, is and the plan, I just want to talk about roster structure while we're waiting for these. Do you want to go 3 quarterbacks on this then and try and do all 3? Because then we'd have like what kind of build would we have? A 3 quarterback, 7 at wide receiver, and then we could do a 7-3, 3-7-7-3.
3-7-7-3. That'd probably be where we're looking. I'd probably go
Okay.
3-7-8-2. Honestly, I feel like I'm safe enough with Njoku. But that probably where I'm looking. And as we're talking through it, Jaden Daniels actually over Caleb Williams taken off the board here. That's
Oof.
actually kind of interesting.
Hmm. I
I get
mean,
it
I
with
guess
the I
people
get it with
shooting
the
their shot.
upside rushing shot, you know. I think all of the quarterbacks of this class do really rush the ball and have a rushing profile pretty well, but an interesting one there for sure. Dalton Schultz goes off the board. That pretty much removes tight end for me at this point until a little bit later. So I think we're going to be going back in.
There
Caleb
goes
Williams off
Caleb.
the board as well. We got a 150 ADP on Deshaun, so I think I can leave that one on the board. Leaning back into running back and wide receiver then is where we're going to go. Um, any idea with Rashid Shaheed? We could go with Jonathan Brooks, Adonai Mitchell. Honestly, I don't really like stacking up another rookie wide receiver here, but he might be where I go.
I mean, I look at Shaheed just because you're talking um, home run hits. Like, he's going to hit some home runs. And honestly, if we can get 7 wide receivers and use that extra spot as maybe even running back depth, because like we have a couple good running backs, but giving a flexibility later in the roster, like if either going with an extra running back, extra wide receiver, extra tight end, however we want to build, I think we have enough horses at wide receiver that we should be good if we get like with Rashid Shaheed now, that we should be fine. But we'll see like kind of what pops up here. There are the rookie running backs that I definitely target in this range too. Like I've been hammering home, like I like Braylon Allen's ability, Blake Corum, of course. Zamir's always an interesting one too. If they do run him back out there, say you've highlighted some good names here. What are your thoughts in this range?
I think this is where we really got to lean back into this running back. Let's see where our next pick is. We're going to be looking at 138. If we can go 138 into the running back spot and then flip that one back around into Deshaun, I think that's where we're probably looking over the next 2 picks because that lines up almost perfectly with our ADP.
Yeah, that sounds about right. The one thing I'd look at is like since we can look at it now, um, any QB needy teams.
In between us, yeah, let's actually pull up that full board. I know we're going to be a little bit in the way here, but looking at it, we've got so looking in between us, we've got 2 rooms here with 1. We've got a 2. Back behind us, 2, 2, 2, 2, 1, 1. So
Got
I
some
mean,
ones in there.
there is a good amount of ones, so we could do a little bit of a reach here if we wanted to go for the Deshaun stack. Make sure we get it. And honestly, I'm thinking we're going that way because we've only got one quarterback
Yeah,
in front of us on the ADP. I think this is where we've honestly got to take that risk. Hopefully, we truthfully don't have one of these 2 teams in front of us that only has one quarterback go off the board and take the Deshaun Watson pick in front of us. It
I
probably
know.
does remove Baker Mayfield from the contention as well, but we could just punt that last quarterback all the way down to the bottom of the board, and I'm perfectly happy doing that.
Yeah, I'm looking at this right now. Like honestly, like you look at that next guy picking up 2-4-4-1, and this guy right now 1-4-4-2. I feel like this guy could be taking quarterback right here. Just balanced roster so far with what names are on the board. He's probably going to go quarterback between us, and hopefully he does take Cousins. But I mean, honestly, Deshaun's probably QB1 on the board just because we don't know what Cousins' availability is. I've seen him get skipped up a lot. Oh, he went for Judy. Ooh,
Timeouted on that one. So that was an
perfect.
auto that
Love
took
it.
the Judy. Let's put everything back on the board. Cooks off the board. So that does leave us to Sean Watson. And I think at this point, we do just have to play
Yeah.
a little bit of the game, make sure that nobody else takes him with so many other ones on the board. It's probably where we're going. Yeah, I'm seeing 2, 3 teams already here that have another quarterback need to fill. So we're going to lean into the stack. That does give us Deshaun Watson. It gives us Amari Cooper, and it gives us David Njoku trying to buy into a revamped, actually, Cleveland
Yeah.
Browns offense because they did fire their offensive coordinator and bring in something new. Maybe it'll turn out well for Deshaun here and get him to a little bit back to where we thought he could potentially be whenever they made that trade.
Yeah, I think that's the whole goal right now is you trade so much for him and then you pay him a fully guaranteed contract. So like he's your quarterback. you got to make it work. He needs to be healthy, of course. He needs to be healthy. You got to find a coordinator that can make it work as best as possible. And if it's a failure, hopefully it's a failure on Deshaun's part. Like that. That's really what it comes down to. But Watson should be good this year. I feel like they're going to put him in situations to be successful, and I think it's an actual huge upside shot on this too, just because he could be a top 8 quarterback option, and you're getting him way down here in the 150s.
Really could be. I mean, if we see he was once a dynasty quarterback too, right there neck and neck with Mahomes at one
Mm-hmm.
point in time in history. Now that was a long time ago. Obviously, we all
Yeah.
know that one, but at least that skill and that ability is still in there. So obviously, the quarterback landscape has changed. I think you're still not going to catch up to the Josh Allen, the Jalen Hurtses that can really rush the ball like we didn't have whenever he was at that elite level. And I think Deshaun has kind of regressed in that rushing availability in terms of just breaking open a game with his legs. He still has that movement
Yeah.
and everything and can still pick up yards, but I don't think he's ever going to compete with the Lamar Jacksons, Jalen Hurts, Josh Allens of the world. So I do think he can be that, though. Still definitely think he can end up as a top 12 quarterback, even down here all the way at like quarterback 22 or something off the board, as we're seeing currently. Baker and Cousins do go, which means that we probably made the right decision
We
here
did.
in
Yeah.
taking the quarterback and getting the stack.
Yep, absolutely. So we now have our 2 quarterbacks, 3 running backs, 6 wide receivers, and 1 tight end. I do feel like running back is probably the play at this point. We saw the other quarterbacks come off. Baker is gone. So, yeah, no need to try and work a quarterback. We can take another late one. Jonathan Brooks is a good name. People talk about he would be running back one of this class for, if he didn't tear his ACL, and for some people he still is running back one. But I think it is a wide open gap. It just depends on really landing spot and situation type of stuff for these running backs.
And I get the Jonathan Brooks wide or running back one in Dynasty. I don't very much agree with
With
it
the
in terms
yeah,
of redraft, though, because we saw
fair.
this as we see another name on here. I think we see another name, might have just gone off the board a
Blake
couple
Corum.
picks ago, but no, not even with Blake Corum. We saw it with Kendre Miller, who everybody thought was a really good prospect coming out
Yeah.
whenever he was dealing with injuries the entire offseason. It's hard for those guys to get adjusted year one. Do I still think Kendre Miller's a good player? Yes. And do I think Jonathan Brooks is a very good running back? Yes. But if he can't be a part of the OTAs, be a part of minicamp, and you're just that far behind whenever people are putting into their scheme and offense, there's not enough time during the season to really learn that. And so I'm probably going to stay away from Jonathan Brooks here. And I will be between these two other starred running backs of either Bucky Irving or Braylon Allen. I know you said you were liking Braylon Allen.
Yeah.
Can you give me anything more about him? Because I've only seen the 2 games that I've really seen of him on tape, at least. Obviously, he goes off the
And
board
he's
here,
gone.
but you could
Yeah,
still
I'm
talk to me
happy
a little bit
happy to.
about Braylon Allen as my pick.
Yeah, since it seems like we've just narrowed it down to Bucky Irving, so we know what we're taking. But Braylon Allen, big physical guy. He's going to be the youngest player in the league when he day one steps on the football field. So he's young, but he's also just a big physical guy that can get on the field early, do that early down work. He may not be a workhorse back. He could be though. Like that's within the range of outcomes, but most likely he's a first and second down type of back. And if he gets into a situation where they have a good offensive line and he can get north south, like that dude can hit the hole and go. So that's my excitement for Braylon Allen. But
And I am
again, a
going to
lot on
be
the line.
over Bucky Irving. Honestly, he is probably he's probably going to be my favorite player of the draft. As
Bucky
much as
Irving.
I was in love with Zach Charbonnet last year,
Oh
I'm
God.
probably going to be equally in love with Bucky Irving this year. Um, I've watched a good bit of him now, and seriously, obviously he has complete size differential between the guys that we were just talking about. Like Braylon Allen's going to be comped to Derrick Henry, and Bucky Irving, we comped him to like a juiced up Devin Singletary, which doesn't sound amazing, but in the running back world in which we live, that's a very good complimentary running back. I
Yeah.
know the upside of Braylon Allen is probably much more than Bucky Irving, but that's because Braylon Allen could take 25 touches a game and probably be fine. Bucky Irving can't do that. But in this day and age, are you really drafting a running back to take 25 touches with, especially with all these running backs hitting free agency that we've seen and as massively spread out as all these running backs are? If he gets that role, then yeah, I'd be a Braylon Allen guy. But I think the upside of Bucky Irving
Yep.
is absolutely fantastic. Coming in as like a slender frame of like the 5'10, 190 running back instead of the 6'2, 220 running back.
Big thing. Also, the reason like when I'm looking at best ball wise, like targeting a guy like Braylon Allen, again, I like him in Dynasty, but again, he's a big dude. You just mentioned 6'2", 220, 230, like he or might be even more than that when we actually see weigh-ins. Big physical guy, goal line work, touchdowns. Like I'm just looking for crack weeks like that. Bucky Irving obviously has that home run ability too, so I do like Bucky Irving. Don't not hating on the pick at all, but it's just funny. I know you're Charbonnet love, and I know how pumped you were about that. So just say that you see him in the same light. That I'm
It's
interested.
not the
I'm
same
interested.
because Zach Charbonnet was still like a 6 foot
Just that same
200.
hype.
Yeah, but the same way that I liked Zach
Right.
Charbonnet, like I not to the same degree because I was truly in love with Zach Charbonnet, but
Yes, you were.
I'm gonna be a pretty big Bucky Irving guy, and I might have him over Braylon Allen whenever rookie drafts
Correct.
come out for Dynasty.
We are
We
up.
are
Who
up
you looking
here.
here?
We're leaning back into running back. Honestly, at that point, I might have been looking into Jonathan Brooks here, as we do see some other guys on the board. The Tyler Algier is a little bit interesting, but running back,
Marshawn
like you
Lloyd.
said, is kind of dried up. Anything you're really seeing here, I'll let this pick go to you.
Real Jaleel McLaughlin. I mean, we're talking home run ability. Like he's getting involved in the passing game. They utilized him last year. Like you see there, you had 76 carries, 410 yards. Sean Payton isn't going anywhere. I don't know that they're necessarily going to invest in running back because Javante is still on the roster. It just seemed like the way they used them last year, that's probably going to be the plan going on this year. I does not appear to be changing. So he's an absolute dart, but he could be a Jalen Warren-esque, boom performer when he breaks off a nice 30-yard touchdown and just cracks our lineup. So that's kind of what we're looking for at this point in the draft is can we get some weeks out of you at the running back spot? And then, of course, if injury does happen, more opportunity. So that's kind of what you're looking at from there. Any other wide receivers or anything else stand out to you at this point as we wrap around?
Yeah, that's where I'm going to look at now. We do have the rookies still coming back around, the Polk, Leggett, Devontae Walker, but this is the range where this wide receiver, any of these wide receivers, I think could go in like the fourth round, and you're just basically drafting more than likely a dead asset. Again, everybody's going to say like you could if Puka Nacua went in like the fifth, yeah, like, oh
Uh-huh.
sure, but
Here we go.
there was a lot of other receivers like A.T. Perry that I liked who went in like the sixth round as well, who didn't do anything except catch one touchdown the entire year. So I'm not really betting on that. I do kind of like a Zay Jones here. I know he's a little bit older now, but I think he could still serve a role in an offense as long as he was dealing with injuries in and out this last year. But I do think he gives a little bit of upside. Trey Palmer, I know that he's one of your guys out of Nebraska. If Mike Evans did leave, now we're buying back into the Mike Evans hype here. So maybe we just bet on a Mike Evans leaving and a Trey Palmer serving as the potential number two in this offense if he were to leave. I don't think he'll ever serve as the two, but I do think he's still a nice boom bust. Hey, if he
Yeah.
wakes up angry, he's going to score a touchdown that day, guy. So
I mean, the thing with Trey Palmer though, he has played well. He's like caught a
he's limited.
touchdown.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like caught a touchdown, and then you're like, oh wow, this must be a good Trey Palmer, fantasy game. At least he might have double digit points, and he like had one catch on the day, or he has two catches for 30 yards and a touchdown. And then when he does get yards, he doesn't get the touchdown. It's just he's never really a big spike player. But yeah, if Mike Evans did leave, I could see that. Marshawn Lloyd, I mean, I don't know if J.K. Dobbins love it. AJ Dillon's another one. AJ Dillon's another guy that I look at choking over here. But just because of the physicality, if he does go to a situation where he can be goal line guy and get two touchdowns, great. Maybe they do, find a spot for him that, serves a specific role, a la Braylon Allen, and and he can just plot his way to some yards.
I do kind of like that one. I do think we got the Antonio Gibson's one that I really think could find a new home with a new really good fit. I know I've been taking a good amount of I know I've been taking a good amount of Antonio Gibson in some of these drafts. Um, I might lean. No, I don't want to lean back into the tight end yet, as we still got a couple on the board here. So I'm going to lean back into the running back. We're going to reach a little bit as 80 on ADP, but I don't like anybody in the current ADP set. So I am going to go with Antonio Gibson and see if he can land in a home in a role that really serves him well. We are back on mute as you were covering
Yeah,
a cough there,
since I
which I
was dying,
appreciate.
I was dying over here. Uh, so Antonio Gibson, yeah, I don't mind that at all. There's another name that's, again, I mentioned AJ Dillon. The one that I've actually been targeting mostly, like in this range, also is Miles Sanders, and I've been a big proponent of Chuba Hubbard this off, or last year, and even going into this season. But we have a whole new regime, and bottom line is, Tepper still runs that organization. He spent $30 million on Miles Sanders. So they have him. I guess they can get out from under him, but they're going to try and use him again. And so he has proven himself to be a home run guy in the past. And if they do find a way to utilize him in a certain, a certain way, he's not an awful player. He was just used in an awful way last year, and he didn't fit what that team was doing, a la Damian Pierce. So, I do think that there's going to be an opportunity for him, and he could be a real nice spot start here and there throughout the season.
I do think that he was used in a wrong way. Now, is he also very good? Was the offensive line very bad? Do they still have a lot of work to go? Yes. So I'm not as bought into the Miles Sanders, but I do understand the logic and the train thought to get you there. So we got 5 picks left here. We're sitting pretty even with the positions that we do have: 2 QBs, 6 running backs, 6 wide receivers. Which, truthfully, I'm probably done at running back here. I know we did punt it a little bit, but if we're going to look at this, Jonathan Taylor, Tony Pollard, Devin Singletary, Irving, McLaughlin, Antonio Gibson, a lot of things probably have to break right for this running back room. But if your mainstays, the anchors of Jonathan Taylor and Tony Pollard, do stay healthy, I think that we're probably fine here. And I don't really ever like going over 6, 7 running backs total. Do you have anything else? Yeah, I just don't like investing too much into this running back position, as I only need 2 of them compared to the 3 wide receivers. Typically, I don't like to get over 6 too much.
So I've done a kind of hero model, basically, where like I have a decent enough quarterback, and like I like our quarterback room enough that I would be actually okay not taking another one. We could take one, but I would actually take up to 9 running backs and 2 tight ends. Again, I know that we need more wide receivers to start, but in the end, we have 6 very good wide receivers to crack 3 slots. Could we have one, in our flex spot? Absolutely, that's a possibility. But I am truly focused on just having some solid depth, solid opportunities for those 3. And if I can get that 4th one, outstanding. But I also want to have those shots at running back too, where if opportunity does prevail, or if things break the right way, that we can have some big time weeks out of running back too, especially with the anchor we got early.
What do you think about going into, I know one of your guys that you've taken a lot. I have not taken a single share, so you can take another one if you want, and it's not on your conscience, not in your portfolio. What about JT Sanders here as our second tight end on the board? Because as we're looking with the running backs, wide receivers, and tight ends, none of these guys are going to be coming back to us more than likely out of all these tight ends. And if I was to take a bet on one, it'd probably be JT Sanders to have the most upside out of any of them.
I love JT Sanders. Like Jordan Backus, and I can shout out Destination Debbie. We haven't done the shout out yet. Make sure, if you have listened in through 47 minutes so far, if you are part of Destination Debbie, even if you're not, wake up, use code wake up. We do have the promo code there going on right now, so you can get up to a $100 deposit match on your first deposit if you use promo code wake up. Big shout out to Ray and Destination Debbie for that. But yes, Jordan Backus over there, talked with him a good bit. We are on the clock. Who you taking here? Are you just going to take JT Sanders?
I'm just going to lean into the JT Sanders.
Then I'll go into it then. So we talked about it, and I'm like, I really like what I'm seeing, man. And it just asked it, like, big Texas fan on top of being really tapped into the analytics. I'm like, what are your thoughts on it? Could he be tight end 1 in this class? And he's like, yes, dude. Like, he can absolutely be tight end 1 in this class. We saw Brock Bowers looking like the auto trader salesman out there, like standing next to Gronk. I know it's just a picture. I'm just clowning around, but like JT Sanders is projected to be a 1st round pick too. Like, let's not forget. So we've seen tight ends get utilized correctly when they've been drafted appropriately in more recent years, with the Laportas and Kincaids. So with us already having Njoku, where it's, I think, a safe bet that we could get some pop weeks.
I do think so. So would you want to go into either? I think we probably have the decision here of going into either another tight end or another quarterback. That's probably where I'm at. Do you agree on that one, as we have 4 picks left on the board?
Yeah, we got 4 picks left. Because we still could do 3-7-7-3 if we really wanted to, or 3-8-6-3 if we wanted to have a quarterback and a tight end. But again, Is there anyone like home run wise that stands out to you at tight end? Because like I feel like if it's just a random dart, maybe we just stick with two.
Conklin's my only one that's left.
Jawan Johnson. Um, Again, he wasn't healthy throughout the year, but we saw what he did down the stretch, and I still remember a devastating defeat in fantasy playoffs thanks to part of Jawan Johnson. So
I
still
wonder who
remember
gave you
that.
that one.
Yeah, stings. Yeah, gosh, distracted there. But yeah, we're up in 2 picks. What are your thoughts here? Do you want to take, I mean, Brennan Rice, like any other running back stand out to you right now?
Nothing on the board at running back or wide receiver is really calling out to me here. I mean, if you're going to put A.T. Perry on the board in front of me, no thanks at all. That's
Miles
definitely not it.
Sanders.
But okay. Oh no, actually, we didn't. We did. I forget. We didn't actually go with the Chuba Hubbard. That was a different draft that I went with Chuba Hubbard. That was on a slow cock. Let's go with it. Let's go with the. Let's go with the other one
Thank
that I
you.
just picked on the. I picked the Chuba Hubbard on the other draft that I just did. So let's go with the other way. See if it breaks right for this squad or the other squad, or it breaks right with no squads. And we're gonna lean into the running back
And they're
of
awful.
Miles Sanders. But I don't think they have any capital after they paid Miles Sanders a 3-year contract that was almost like fully, truly guaranteed. I don't think they got much money left to put into the running back room. So I think one of the two will be the lead back here. Maybe it'll just be a split again between the two, and they'll both be mediocre to average. But I'll lean the other way here.
Yeah, at this point, yeah, like I'm totally good with it. I appreciate you doing that for me. I'll take the blame if he sucks, but just the way that Canales is coming in from Tampa, the way that they utilized Rashad White, like again, it's taking a massive bet. Chuba Hubbard never really was known for his pass catching prowess. Miles Sanders has been known for his drops, but he is a running back that has handled, I think he had 60 catches 1 year. He's also had a good chunk of targets, in the Philadelphia offense. So again, realm of possibility that he has a shot and has a significant role, or at least gets us some weeks. And I do like him over some of the other running back options out there. So appreciate you taking that sacrifice for me, buddy.
Yeah, I do think there is one remaining quarterback here, though, that
Yeah.
I don't understand why he's this far down the board, and that's Russell Wilson. I know that he doesn't have a team right now, but I don't care. Um, he's going to be a starting quarterback next year. Like, I have much more faith that Russell Wilson's a starting quarterback than I do that JJ McCarthy, Michael Penix, or Bo Nix is a starting quarterback next year.
I am a Broncos fan. For those that know, so this is a little biased, but
Never mind.
I've
Okay, I
also
got to find something else. Keep
great.
talking.
I love Russell Wilson. I do think that people are undervaluing him, and I've never liked Russell Wilson throughout his career. I'm a diehard Nebraska fan. I could not stand him at Wisconsin. Was never a huge fan of his in Seattle. So like I have this like resentment towards him, but he's been good for fantasy. And that's my fandom grudge. He's been good for fantasy. I know things weren't great in Denver, but the team that is going to trade and get Russell Wilson, or sorry, I keep saying trade, the team that signs Russell Wilson is going to be a contending team. They're not going to be a rebuilding team. It's a team that's going to be like a quarterback away. So that does suck that he's off the board. Who are you looking at here?
I put a couple names on the board, really only two of them that are actually in my mind, and they're both wide receivers. Darius Slayton, KJ Osborne.
Slayton.
Slayton, I think, is the big play wide receiver, probably the one that I'm going to be leaning here. KJ Osborne, I do like the fact that he's going into free agency and could be it could be a higher than we really expect guy, but I still think Slayton holds that big play 40-yard bomb upside that I'm perfectly fine leaning into here as our seventh wide receiver to match with our really good six.
Yeah, I'm good with that too. So we got 3 picks left here. Again, now we have a 2-7-7-2.
We got the
We
two
have.
left.
Oh yes, we do. Math is tough right now. Math is hard. I can't count. So now we have the 2 last spots left. We can either go running back, uh, other quarterback. Like, are there any other quarterbacks now that Russ
Yeah,
was
let's
taken?
let's let's take a look there. I mean, you're leaning into the Michael Penix, Bo Nix, JJ McCarthy if you want to lean into that, or Kenny
Yeah,
Pickett. I mean,
Pickett Pickens.
realistically, we could go into the Pickett and Pickens stack. Now, has Kenny Pickett? I think he's thrown for 2 touchdowns in a single game, like twice in his career. Like, it's god
So bad for
awful.
fantasy, man. He's been so freaking bad for fantasy.
I'd almost rather just take a pick on a rookie and see if I pick the right one, to be honest. In this type of a draft with $3 on the line, I'd rather take a freaking rookie. Um,
Yeah. Any tight end options still out there? I mean, we're 5 picks away. So any other tight ends? We still you got Noah Gray,
no Gray, but I don't really want to
Dolchich.
do that one. I don't like Dolchich either.
Yeah, it's a gamble.
Actually, these two right there, the two that I would lean into if I was to pick any of them. Even Tanner Hudson, Jonnu Smith over the ones that we were seeing above
Yeah.
them.
Any other wide
Um,
receivers? I was just looking for any other like last tier guys. If there's anything else out there
yeah,
that might be of interest for us to grab one more, but
I don't really want to stack the Alec Pierce, but I don't mind Alec Pierce either.
uh,
Just as another big play guy who catches that 60-yard bomb touchdown every once in a while.
Javon Baker, KJ is still out there.
KJ's still out there if I wanted to lean into that one. Kendrick Bourne all the way down here isn't terrible. He didn't tear his ACL until or he tore it pretty early in the season, didn't he?
Yeah, so he's gonna be back. Scroll all the way up, real quick here. I thought there was, yeah, all the young guys. Brennan
Yeah, it's
Rice,
just
Malachi Corley,
all the
the home
rookies
run.
coming in. Yeah,
Um,
all the rookies. If you hit the right third rounder, that actually hits instead of being a seventh rounder
here's your
undrafted
puka
free
range.
agent.
Here's
Yeah,
your
no,
puka range.
I'll not take the dart throw out of one out of the 20 that are here, like Jamari Thrash being above Odell Beckham Jr. No thanks. Sky Moore is all the way down here. That's just
Oh,
sad. Uh,
Bo Melton, home run shot.
Greg Dortch.
Dortch, honestly, like I did this last year too. I just targeted Dortch late in the round. All right, so who we got left? We got 2 picks. You're on the clock.
I'm gonna go with Kendrick Bourne, man. Honestly, he was pretty good before that ACL got torn.
Why not?
I think if ahead of schedule as of 2 days ago,
And
by the report that's on the on my screen right now that you all can't see because we're covering it.
he has the home run ability. They're probably they should, I shouldn't say probably, knowing the Patriots, they do wild things. They might have a new quarterback. They should have a new quarterback, but we'll see if they just take a left tackle and or trade out of it. Who knows what they'll end up doing. But
I'm not totally sure. I'll look it up before we get out of here, but
yeah.
I think he might be on his last year in New England as well. He might be out of town.
Okay. I mean, yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens there.
Last thing here, I think we're done with the wide receivers as we got to
Yeah.
8. I think we're really looking running back or tight end at this point, unless we do want to take that shot. Michael Penix, Bo Nix, JJ McCarthy.
I don't care. Like I usually go for something like points. Taysom. Just kidding. Joe Flacco if he gets a job again.
I'd still bet on a rookie over him getting a job, honestly.
Tight end sucks, but it's like if JT Sanders isn't getting utilized, like we could be dead. I wouldn't mind taking Logan Thomas, Johnu.
This is where I'm leaning. I'm leaning one of these 4.
Yeah,
Which one? I don't exactly know which one I'd be leaning
I know
into,
you
but
love Logan Thomas.
I do love myself some Logan Thomas, to
I
be honest.
I don't know if Johnu Smith has the year that he did last year with no Arthur Smith. I just don't know that they're gonna. I don't know. I don't know if he's gonna find himself a spot.
That is where I have the issue as well. I think that, while I've said I liked Arthur Smith on this podcast, or on the show, I've never said that I liked his usage of the players that he had. I don't think he's bad at scheme and as an offensive coordinator.
Yep.
His usage is completely separate from his actual scheme and on the field. So the two separate things, but I agree that Jonnu could have a very lesser year. So you know what? I'm gonna lean into. God, always forget Tanner Hudson's actually like 30 years old, and he just never broke out
Yeah,
until last
man.
year. I'm actually just gonna go back with Logan Thomas. I always like myself some floor Logan Thomas. That team is incredibly young. They don't have a lot of things to do. If they do end up trading up for the Caleb Williams with Cliff Kingsbury, like a lot of people are already putting out there on the web, they don't have a lot. They don't have a lot to do with this team. So Logan Thomas, easily another guy that they could trot out there for another year or two.
Yeah, he's cheap. I was just looking up his contract, so he's going to be a couple $1 million basically. So yeah, like why not keep him for one more year, especially when you have a lot of uncertainty in that offense, and if he's healthy, he can be a solid dart. So we've got our team wrapped up a 2-7-8-3. I think this is my first 2-7-8-3. I can say
Definitely
that.
my first one. I like I said, I typically keep my running backs a little bit lower and my wide receivers a little bit higher. So I normally lean that way, but I like how he did this one. Also, as we're going into it, Kendrick Bourne is a free agent. He could escape the curse of the New England Patriots going into the year. So could
Perfect.
escape that situation. But let's go through the team as we wrap on out of here. Jared Goff as a standalone quarterback, but I really do like myself some Jared Goff, who's going to get his contract this year as we go back into our completed little board. I think this is where we go. Yeah, let's get back into there here. All
Yep.
right, let's move us over to the let's move us over to this view so you all can see it. Oh,
Perfect.
look at that. Look at that little movement there. Jared Goff is going to be the quarterback. Deshaun Watson is going to be our sacked quarterback throughout here. Running backs are going to be anchored by the Jonathan Taylor and Tony Pollard, Devin Singletary, Bucky Irving, Jaleel McLaughlin, Antonio Gibson, and Miles Sanders to wrap out and hopefully give us some fill-in weeks throughout the season. Wide receivers is where we really dominated in the early rounds, though. Amon-Ra St. Brown, like I said, I don't know why I said Jared Goff is standalone. Amon-Ra St. Brown is our first pick that we forgot off the board. Mike Evans, though, alongside of him, hopefully, maybe even in Detroit, but probably not back in
No.
Tampa. Amari Cooper to pair with the Deshaun Watson stack. Romo Dunze, we'll see where he goes. Hopefully a top 10 pick as we're picking him here with the pick 55 overall. George Pickens, Rashid Shaheed, Darius Slayton, and Kendrick Bourne to give us a little bit of upside on the way out. Tight ends, three of them, David Njoku, Jatavian Sanders, and Logan Thomas. Think this one actually turned out pretty good.
Yeah.
Hasn't been a build that I've really looked at too much, 2783, but I like how this one played out. You have any overall thoughts on this one, Chase?
Yeah, I usually start with a 3773, like as a thought, or again, getting two and using that extra flush or that extra pick to kind of flush out the rest. Basically, if I find value, I actually like this team a lot, man. We got the double stack, yeah, and we have a good chunk of one offense. Again, we're taking a bet on Cleveland being good, but again, they were good last year. I know it was Joe Flacco, so even if something does happen with Deshaun Watson and Flacco comes back, maybe they're still fantasy relevant. So, not a huge issue there. Jared Goff, Amon-Ra, love that stack. Looks really good there. And I love the depth that we have throughout. Like the wide receiver spot, like obviously we have the Mike Evans, the Amon-Ra, and then the Amari Cooper. All of those could be decent floor plays as well. I know we're looking for ceiling, but they can also smash. And then we have the other additional smash plays of a Pickens, a Rashid Shaheed, and then a couple other darts with Slayton. So I do like that team. And then also thinking about tight end, have the good enough option for home run weeks with Njoku. JT Sanders could be very, very good. So wouldn't mind that. And then Logan Thomas, same thing. That could be a little floor play, taking a little gamble on Rome. But again, could be some smash upside there. And I like the depth we have at running back too. So health wise, there's opportunity in that room. I actually love this team. It's going to come down to me for quarterback and tight end that'll really make this team successful or not.
I think it's more on the running back here. If I really had to guess
Really?
where this one might actually fall apart in, I mean, I could honestly see JT being the only one that has a secure workload throughout the year, and that's where I have the bit of the issue.
I don't secure work. I mean, I think Pollard's going to be fine too. I think we have like one of those two in our lineup every single week, and then just needing, I mean, potentially both. But yeah, we do have a lot of gambles, I guess. Singletary, no guarantee. Bucky Irving, no guarantee. Jaleel McLaughlin, no guarantee that they use him the same way. Gibby, same thing. Free agent. Miles, it's a lot of risk. You are right there. Like that, I guess that would
And
be where it
if
falls
Pollard
apart.
goes into a timeshare where he's like a DeAndre
I'm not
Swift,
worried about that. It could happen though.
I
It
mean, with
could.
the running back room with the running back free agency that we have, I'm not guaranteeing anything for any of these running backs. If he turns into an Eagles DeAndre Swift, that's where I truthfully have the most concern with this room with this draft. So, Underdog doesn't like it either. It's probably in the bottom 4 points scored, but Underdog projections at this point of the season, don't pay attention to them.
They don't matter.
Yeah, they honestly they really don't. So, Chase, anything left before we get out of here? Anything else we got to plug? I think we got running back rankings coming up soon. My wide receiver rankings are already out. I'm sure we'll get yours at some point too before the
Yep,
draft
absolutely.
season comes around. So just be mindful of everything that we're coming out on the fantasy draft room with. Looking over to the overreaction pod on the Destination Devy feed as well. Anything else you got before we wrap on out of here, Chase?
Nope. Patreon.com/all gas. Make sure you're part of the Heisman or the Destination 5 tier. That's where you'll find us. That's where you'll find all the content creators over at Destination Devy. So do check that out. Again, promo code Wake Up. So make sure you do use that for your $100 deposit match on your first deposit. Let me make sure I reiterate that. So again, promo
New
code
customer
Wake Up.
sign up.
new customer sign up. That makes life easy there. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Make sure you like this video, comment down below, let us know what your thoughts and strategies are throughout this, what things you're noticing, because we're down to pick other people's brains. We're going to be doing a bunch of these throughout the off season. But yeah, again, look out for some mock drafts, rankings, and things like that. And thank you so much for joining us here in the Fantasy Draft Room.